Happy Father's Day to all of you and to all of you. I hope that you have a lovely day and continued. Just a few things before we get started this morning. Some of you probably know that today we start a new study. Some of you might not know, but today we'll start our monthly gathering on Sunday afternoons. So this will be following our service today. So you're welcome to come. This will be a very short gathering today. And then next month we'll have our longer gathering where we're going to be talking about the 12 powers and engaging those over the next year is my hope, is to spend once a month honing in on each of those. So I hope that you'll join me. And also after the service, about 10 minutes following, if you want to gather in here just to talk about today's message, I'll also offer that space. This week, we will end our weekly gathering on Tuesday as we finish up our study on return to wholeness. And I just wanted to thank my teachers who have been along with me, like Laura and Linda and Peggy and Angie and Rebecca and Valerie and Marissa and Juliet, all of you who have been a part of that over the last few weeks. Just thankful to have you come and be a part of that study series. This week will be our last gathering for that, so you're still welcome to come. We've decided we're going to make it like a little potluck, so if anybody wants to come and bring something to snack on or eat, we would love to have you here at 6 p.m., or you can join us on Zoom. Either way, we would love to have you be a part of that. Have you ever had trouble opening up a jar top? Has that ever been anything that you've struggled with before? One of the most satisfying tasks is when someone asks me if I will help them open the jar top. And it never fails that almost immediately when someone asks me to help them with that, it opens up. It's not because I've done anything magical. As I like to typically respond, you loosened it up for me. And that's normally how that works, right? Has anybody ever experienced that? Where you're struggling and you're struggling and you're struggling and then you hand it to somebody and they're just, you're like, what in the world? How does that? The tight fit jar is how some experience life. They have like an unlocked potential or unearthed joy or unlikely prosperity, or that all the goodness is inside, seemingly sealed off. Or maybe it's more of like the canning process, where the idea is as long as I can bottle this up, what was or could be of my life. A confession for all of you, just so you know. For much of my adult life, I longed for people to love me, to respect me. In fact, I wanted people to adore me. And a lot of my motivation and the things that I would try to do or be in the world was in response, in the hope that that was what I would receive. But now, I want to love me. I want to respect me. I want to adore me. And it's in this process that I began to start to welcome my very nature of who I am, which is wholeness. It was instilled into me that the outside of me was the key to unlocking my potential, my joy, my prosperity. And if I just learned certain things, if I just believed certain ways, if I just assimilated to a certain worldview, a belief system, I would find my life. But the healing began when I was willing and allowed and accepted that I already am whole. In our recent study, we read of similar experiences that pointed towards wholeness as nature. At times we get tricked or confused and forget that wholeness is not something we were or can become, it's something we are. It's not achieved or earned. It is us. One of the tools to kind of open that up or recognize that in ourselves is prayer. As Reverend Linda Martella Winslet reminds us, a sure sign of an effective prayer is this: we go on with life. We realize the truth of innate wholeness and well-being. Moving forward is a way of answered prayers. Moving forward in gratitude and in grace and growth. A long time ago, I read a book called The God Who Speaks, Listening to the Language of God. And this book really changed my whole perspective on prayer. In the book, the author describes the speech of God. And one of the most fascinating ideas was that all prayer is given by God. So in other words, when we feel compelled to pray, it's not by happenstance, but it's by God's nudge in our hearts and minds to do so. The author goes on to write about how when we experience the silence of God, that it's not an absence or due to some lack, but rather it's an invitation to listen, to dive towards the depth of ourselves, to hear God within us. One of the most helpful awakenings I've received is that our presence, our words, our actions are an answer to someone's prayers. Each of us, in the way that we show up in the world, is an answer to someone else's prayers. I know that you have been an answer to mine, and I'm grateful for that. Another tool beyond the fact of prayer to tap into our wholeness is this idea of healing. One of the questions I asked during our study the last few weeks is to build towards this idea of what needs healing, what brings healing, what is healing, and what begins healing. And as we gathered and shared and talked, there was different ideas that came to the forefront of what that meant for us and what it meant to be a part of that. One of the authors in our study said, what does it mean to get well? It may mean recovery or cure from some form of physical disease. It may also mean that healing in our consciousness, our relationships, or any area of our lives is just as vital, if not more so. The idea of being willing versus willful is something that is healing. Willingness is becoming aware of our connection to the universe and to the person you're interacting with. Willingness engenders listening and mentalizing. It's awareness, it's openness, it's acceptance. It's not grit our teeth and bear it. It's not just pound it and go through it and force it. It's allowing trust and patience and alignment to be a part of our nature because it's who we are. It is. It's not something we earn. It's not something achieved. You are already whole. Being willing to accept that and allowing that to be in the flow of who you are is an important step towards recognizing that in ourselves. Another idea that came from the study was this idea of the difference between being childlike and childish. That playfulness and silliness is a part of being open to where your nature and your wholeness is. It's so easy for us to sometimes feel like everything has to be so important or be so adult. And sometimes it's nice to just remind ourselves that playfulness and silliness is a part of the divine nature that each of us have and hold. Finally, I think one of the things that would be important for each of us to make that step towards recognizing our nature and our wholeness is to open your heart and accept the divine spark that's within you. To be at ease, to be health, be prayer, be love, claim your good. What is it that keeps you from claiming that for yourself? All of us have that good that is untapped at times. But I see it every time we gather. The good of being together, the good of hugs, the good of laughter, the good of song, the good of inspiration, the good of God that is reflected off of one another every time we gather. So I invite us this week to ponder our nature, that it is not something that is earned or something that is achieved, that you are already whole. May it be so. Claim your good. So be it. Amen.